Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om Shruti Smruti Purananam Alayam Karunalayam Namami Bhagavatpada Shankaram Lokashankaram. Om Prano Devi Saraswati Vajebhirvajini Vati Dhinama Vitriyavatu Sarvamangalamangallye Shive Sarvarthasadhike Sharanye Triyambake Devi Narayane Namostute. Atmaswarupa Bandhugana. At the outset, I wish you all a very happy and prosperous Dasara, the celebration of the glory of Universal Mother during these 9 days is very popular, not only all through the India, but also all over the world. Among the Indian diaspora and also others. So Upanishads present the reality of this world and of the diversity of life forms as one. So when you look at the universe, apparently it is very diverse. The lifeless things are many and the life forms are many. There is a tremendous diversity which is physical as well as bio. So two kinds of diversities. And if you look at the physical, there are 100-odd elements which constitute the physical universe or the material world. And then there are countless forms of species which are part and parcel of this universe. So you see this kind of living and non-living division. But then the rishis visualized that this diversity, twofold diversity, has its origin in one reality, one without the second. And that is Chetanam Brahma. That is how they looked at it. There could be an argument that the life could have come from matter, and then the opposite argument, matter might have come from life, but then the rishis have a different vision. Both life and matter have originated from one source, which is that awareness, Chit. So the knowingness is the origin of this entire universe. And that knowingness in which space comes to light, in itself it is spaceless. In that knowingness, time comes to light, and in itself it is timeless. And therefore the rishis, they gave an interesting name to it. It is nameless, obviously it is nameless and shapeless, but then it is called Brahman. In the Upanishads, 3 names are given: Sat, Atma and Brahman. Beautiful names. Sat, that alone is. That's why it is called Sat. Atma, that is the essence of all this diversity, outer and inner, living and non-living. Hence it is called Atma, the essence. And it is spaceless and hence timeless, one without the second. Hence they called it Brahman. And the Brahman is without attributes, immovable and unchangeable. It is the Chit, the knowingness, which is sometimes very nicely described as the intelligence which pervades the entire universe. In itself, it doesn't know any division. And so that is the intelligence. So Brahman is all intelligence. Intelligence is the abode of Brahman. Like that, the rishis have described. Now, you have named the Brahman with some difficulty, but how to describe the Brahman? You cannot describe the Brahman. Suppose a person is called upon to give an idea of the ocean, say. He is asked to give an idea of the ocean. Now what can he say? He can only say, it's a vast sheet of water, it's a big expanse of water, it is water, water all around. That is all one can say. So similarly, one can only say Brahman, Brahman is everything, Brahman is everywhere. That is all one can say. Then this Brahman is visualized to be the origin of this entire universe. So the universe is an appearance, it is what you experience, and this appearance, this experience has its origin in that Brahman. Therefore, now we are looking at the Brahman having a potential. You can easily visualize it, should not be difficult. Suppose a water tank is sitting on the top of the building. You go to the terrace, lift the lid and look at the water. What is it? It is water. Water and nothing but water. What are its attributes? No attributes, just water. But you get down a few stairs and open the tap and you get the water with a tremendous force. Where from this force has come? From the same water. There must be, when you go up again and see the water, you don't see any force in that water. You cannot recognize it. It is just water. But you come down and open the tap, then you can see the force of the water. Now this force, where is it? It is in the pipelines or is it in the tap? Where is it? It is in the water. But we don't see it, you don't see it. But it is there. Because of which alone you have this pressure with which water is coming. Like a jet it is coming. That force is there in it. That power is there. Therefore, while it is manifest, you call it kinetic energy. And when it is unmanifest, you call it potential energy. You can simply call it potential. Now it is not water. Water and water alone. It is not. It is water with a potential. Similarly, Brahman. All this diversity, living and non-living, has its origin in that Brahman. And then the Brahman has the potential to create, to sustain, and then to annihilate into itself. So Brahman has the potential. And that potential is called Shakti. That is the Shakti. And now you are looking at the Brahman, which is on one side it is Nirguna, attributeless, but at the same Brahman on the other side, like water, when you go up to the terrace it is Nirguna, but you come down, the same water is not Nirguna. If you are not careful, it will hit you on the face. So, the same water on the other side is having potential. Similarly, from the side of our experience, the Brahman is Saguna and Saguna Brahman. Now it is the potential of the creation, sustenance and annihilation. That potential, that Shakti, is also called Saguna Brahman. This, you see, if you pay attention, I did not divide it. I still call it Brahman only. Only I call it Saguna Brahman. What is the Saguna? You can call it Brahman with Shakti. That is all I called. I did not divide it. It is the same water having a potential. Same Brahman with the Shakti. I did not divide it. But then It is the nature of the human mind to divide. Therefore, now suppose you divide water and its potential. How many things are there? Two things are there. But there are no two things. The potential cannot be without water. Potential, you can think of it only in association with water. There are no two things. But now we talk of two things. Only we add a rider. Two things that cannot be separated. Now, look at that. First you make it one, and then try to make it two. Now you realize your mistake, that it is not two, it is one, and therefore you address the mistake partially by saying that these two cannot be separated. This is the symbolism associated with two representations of Brahman in Hindu mythology. One, Vishnu and Lakshmi cannot be separated. How cannot be separated? So much cannot be separated. The non-separation is represented by saying Shrihi, Lakshmi, the mother, the goddess Lakshmi. If Brahman is the father, then the potential, the Shakti becomes the mother, you know. You have already brought in the language of father and mother. Why it came like that? Why the language of father and mother? Because we look around in our experience, whenever a child is born or a life form takes birth, the origin of the life form is obviously father and mother. Therefore, the world also must have originated from father and mother. But then cannot be separated. That idea of non-separation is also there. Therefore, you separate and yet do the opposite also. Make them united. Therefore, this representation in mythological literature appears in two forms. One, the Lakshmi, the universal wealth, that is the power. To sustain you need power, the wealth. Wealth is the power. Therefore, call that power as Lakshmi or Shrihi. Shrihi, you call it as Shrihi, the wealth, the beauty and the wealth. And it is so inseparable from the Brahman called Vishnu that Lakshmi always sits on the heart of Vishnu. She never sits anywhere else. She sits here only. That too how? She sits here as a Lakshma. Lakshma is a mark, a gold-colored mark. Why gold? Because wealth is associated with gold and therefore gold-colored. Therefore a line, like a birthmark. But Vishnu is not born. You should not think that he is born like a birthmark. Not exactly a birthmark, like a birthmark. Also called Shri Vatsa. Shri, the wealth of the universe, is a birthmark on the chest of Vishnu. That's why Vishnu is called Shri Vatsa Vakshaha, something like that. So, can you separate the birthmark from the guy, from the person? You cannot. Similarly, Shri cannot be separated from Vishnu. This is the idea of the Shakti or potential that cannot be separated from Brahman, a symbolical representation. And if you forget the symbolism, it will take you somewhere. If you keep the symbolism in your mind, you are doing fine. The mythology, the myths now look beautiful. These are called myths. Myths have a role to play in every culture and in religion. So they are very beautiful, provided the symbolism, the significance is understood clearly. Then the same Brahman is also called Shiva. Brahman is called Vishnu because Brahman is all, everywhere. Water everywhere like ocean. Brahman is everywhere, therefore called Vishnu. And Brahman is the real and the appearances are unreal. When the appearances are taken for real, they bind us in the opposites of pleasure, pain, good, evil, virtue, sin. That is how they bind us. When the appearances are taken for real. On the other hand, When the appearances are taken for what they are, it is an appearance. Then the appearance must be connected to the real. That is the Brahman. And that Brahman is all auspiciousness. There is nothing inauspicious, nothing sinful or unvirtuous, nothing painful in it. It is all auspiciousness. Only it is the appearance taken as real is the source of suffering in life. All auspicious, the real. Like it is the ornaments that bind you, never the gold. Gold will not bind you. Gold will sit under the crust of the earth. Why should it bind you? You pull it out and make ornaments, and somebody tries to knock off those ornaments, and you are in trouble. Therefore, the Brahman is all auspiciousness. It doesn't bind. Nay, it liberates. You realize the Brahman, it liberates. You know the world as multiple, it binds. You know the world, the multiple appearances have their origin in Brahman alone. You are free, you are liberated. Sarvam khalvidam Brahma. Therefore, Brahman understood correctly is freedom, liberation. Therefore, it is called Shivaha. Shivaha is all auspiciousness. It came from the reversal of the words, syllables. Vasha Kantau. Vasha Dhatu becomes Shivaha. Like Himsa, Dhatu becomes Simhaha. The syllables get reversed. Therefore Shivaha, all auspicious. And then now if Brahman is a Shiva, the potential of creation, sustenance and annihilation, that potential is a Shakti. And now you cannot separate Shiva and Shakti. How much can you not separate? Ardhanarishvara. If Shiva is one half of the body, the other half of the body is Shakti. How can you separate now? This is the artistic visualization of the non-separation of Shakti and Shiva. So, when you understand it, the symbolism, the significance, obviously, such myths, which are part and parcel of every culture, are very inspiring, and they form the basis for the worship of God in multiple forms. Therefore, this is one way of looking at the Brahman, Saguna Brahman, Shiva, Shakti, Vishnu, Lakshmi, etc. That power, that Shakti, also called Pranaha, ya Pranena Sambhavati, Aditir Devata Mayi. That is how the verse we have seen in Kathopanishad. That Prana is infinite. It is omnipresent, manifesting power. So, everything that we call energy, like wind, water flowing, fire, earth going around the sun, etc., everything that we call energy, everything that we call force, so it has its origin in that Shakti, in that infinite. And all motion, that infinite manifests as all the motion. And it manifests as gravitation. It manifests as magnetism, as electricity. And so it manifests within also, in the human body also, in every living body it manifests. For example, it manifests as the power of the nerve currents, and also it manifests as the actions of the body, and the legs, and the organ of speech, etc. Therefore, the sum total of forces in the universe, within and without, so when they are all resolved into their original source, one original source from which they all came out, and when they are all resolved into that one original source, that original source is called Pranaha, also called Hiranyagarbha, also called Saguna Brahman, also called Shakti. So that is the philosophical background of Shakti, or universal mother. Now, there is this Markandeya Purana in which this the vision of the Upanishad, the vision of the philosophy, the philosophical vision is taken, a cue is taken from it, and then it is artistically, very elegantly, it is blown up, if I can say so. It is dilated or elaborated into a mythological story. So now I gave you the philosophical vision, and now you see how it is dilated into a mythological story. You can see the connection. And I am looking at a chapter from DEVI MAHATMYAM, which consists of 13 chapters, and in that, somewhere in the middle, one chapter. It is called Madhyama Charitam. The 13 chapters are divided into 3 units, and in the middle, Deva Asuram Abhud Yuddham. So always we talk of a battle. Always. You go to Gita, it is a battle. So go to Brihadaranyaka Upanishad, it is battle. Chandogya Upanishad, it is battle. Everywhere it is battle. Because life is battle. That is what we are looking at. You wake up, the battle begins. So as long as the life is that of becoming, you have goals, you have to achieve, you have to accomplish, there is battle. And once the battle is on, then there is the good side of it and the evil side of it. Both will come. You cannot have a battle which is entirely good or which is entirely evil. There is no such battle. Maybe sometimes I wonder, with the Rama-Ravana Yuddham, that Dharma Yuddha was over. In Mahabharata, it is not Dharma Yuddha. There is Adharma, plenty on both sides. Because once you enter into a battle, you start cutting corners, and then you may have very good intentions, but the means employed to achieve those good intentions are not always good. In fact, it is said, the way to hell is paved with all good intentions. So, therefore there is a battle. And this battle, which is described as though it is happening outside between the good and evil, is in fact the battle which is happening in our heart between the good and evil. For example, we know the world is unreal. That is what we learn in the Vedanta class. Not one time, not one day or 1 month. For years on we learn it. But the moment we step out and start living the life, so the world, we forget, or we somehow unconsciously or unconsciously put aside that thinking and then start functioning as if the world is real. Therefore the battle is on. The battle between the truth, the real that you have understood, hopefully, and then the actual living where the untruth takes over. This battle is always on. And in the mind, you feel like doing a good work, you feel like giving a shirt to the other person, but then the mind says, suppose you give away this shirt, you may fall short of one shirt. Therefore you hold back whether to give or not. So the battle is on. Okay? Therefore, this battle is always on. And Shankara described this battle in the Chandogya Bhashya and also Brihadaranyaka Bhashya very beautifully. And this battle is very symbolic in nature, but then in the Purana, it is dilated, elaborated into a regular battle that takes place in the battlefield. And this battle between good and evil is always represented as Deva-Asura Sangrama, the battle between Devatas and Asuras. Now here the Mahishe Asurana Madhipe, the name of the Asura, Asura is the evil guy. His name is Mahisha. What is this Mahisha? Mahisha is a water buffalo. Why the Asura should be a water buffalo? Why? Because it is a very significant, beautiful representation of the inner tamoguna. There cannot be a better representation. While you are driving a car in India, you are going in a vehicle, car or whatever, suddenly you come across a mahisha. It is a big animal, a lumbering animal, and what I noticed, this horn, it doesn't have any effect upon the mahisha. Not only, I encounter the mahisha almost on a daily basis when I go to my class, I encounter the mahisha, couple of them sometimes, but certainly one or two. And I also notice this cacophony of the noise, Indian street noise, is not an ordinary thing. It is a lot of hustle and bustle. And all that cacophony, all that noise doesn't have any impact upon the mahisha. It is so immune to what is all going around it. It just doesn't understand what is going on. It doesn't understand. Whereas a cow understands that it is coming in the way and it is annoyed by this noise, therefore it repairs to a corner as quickly as it can. But not mahisha. So then somebody comes from behind and hits it with a stick. Then because it was beaten, it takes a step forward. This is the mahisha. And that mahisha is within us. That mahisha is the ajnana, tamoguna. Incidentally, mahisha is black also. Therefore, tamoguna is represented by black color. That is also there. Therefore, that is the asura, mahisha asura. And now, the sattva guna, the power of goodness, the power of knowledge, the power of righteous action, karma yoga, that is the devata. And this mahisha in us is represented as laziness, physical as well as intellectual. Physical laziness is there. We become physically very lazy. That's why we become sick people. And then intellectually lazy means we don't ask questions. We are ready to believe. We are not ready to think at all. And even if an opportunity is provided to think, we refuse to think. Because believing is easy, thinking is difficult. This is how we develop intellectual laziness. That is the mahisha. Then we become angry. That is mahisha. We are violent and brutal. We kill a plant, we cut a plant, and we are brutal in many other ways. And we are violent. Violent need not be physical. Maybe verbal violence, and then mental violence. All that is mahisha. So this is tamoguna, that mahisha is there. Now the power of knowledge and the understanding of karma, which transforms karma into karma yoga, that is the potential shakti. That is the sattva guna shakti. It has to come now and put an end to this mahisha. And now it is this mahisha, coming to the story, this asura has persecuted all the devatas. All the devatas were put to tremendous difficulty by this asura. How? Agni was put to difficulty. Means mahisha spoils the organ of speech. And what you speak is vitiated by the mahisha. Then vayu, because of anger, your inhalation, exhalation gets spoiled. Like this, all these devatas are put to difficulty by this tamoguna. Indra is the strength of the hands. The tamoguna makes that strength worthless, makes people lazy. Then Brihaspati is the god of thinking, intellect. Mahisha thoroughly spoils that god, Brihaspati. Now this person is unable to think. He becomes a blind follower and he doesn't think for himself. That is a kind of insult to the devata of Brihaspati. All because of the tamoguna, mahisha. Therefore, all these devatas which were put down by mahisha, they come together and pool up their power and create a tremendous force or power in order to defeat this Mahisha. Sometimes I tell in the class, you have to get disenchanted completely with the falsehood of this living, the worldly living, and you collect all your energies inner in one great longing for the truth. Unless you do that, you have not even taken the very first step in the direction of self-realization. That is how we describe in the class. So that pooling together of all energies in order to overcome the obstacles in the form of Mahisha, this battle that is going on in the hearts of the seekers, this is described as the battle. You better do it not as a battle, but at least in the initial stages it really looks like a battle. And therefore this is the script of the Purana. You got the script? That is the script of the Purana. Now I am describing the Purana a little. Nishchakrama mahattejo brahmana shankarasya cha. So there is Vishnu, there is Brahma, there is Shiva in you. The eye, both eyes are open, that is Vishnu. Eyes are closed, that is Rudra or Shiva. Now eyes are about to open, that is Brahma in you. Between the thoughts, between two thoughts is Shiva. The thought is on for a moment, that is Vishnu. The thought is just came up, that is Brahma. Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva. That in you. Therefore, all these powers, thought is power, and they are pulled together. And other devatas, they don't keep quiet, they add their powers. Like Anyeshan Chaiva Devanam Shakradinam Sharirataha Nirgatam Sumahattejaha Tachaikyam Samagachata. All other devatas, when Brahma, Vishnu, Shiva contribute their power and pull up one place, then all other devatas, they do not lag behind. Therefore, Indra came forward and he added his power of physical strength. And then when all these devatas have added their power, look at that power, combined power. It is now he describes in physical terms. This power which is pulled up, it is so much, so big, as if it is a burning mountain peak. Jvalantamiva parvatam. That much power is pulled up. You visualize like that. Some kind of a cinematographic description I am giving you. So all that power is visible. Suppose power appears before you, how will it look? It will look like a huge conflagration. That is how it will look like. And as big as a mountain peak. And lo behold, so jvala vyaptatigantaram. Out of that power, the tongues of flames are pouring out, covering all directions. That much power. Then this is the mind, you know. The mind, it wants to give a shape to that power. Look at that verse. Atulan tatra tattejaha. That power, tejaha, that effulgence. Atulam, no comparison to that. That kind of an effulgence, which is born out of all the devatas. Ekastham, put together, pulled together. Now what? Tadabhun nari, that became a woman. Look at that, already woman has come. Tadabhun nari. It is something like, I have seen the artist doing, he takes a brush and puts it in the ink, and on the canvas he draws like that, one line. Ganesh Maharaj aa gaya. Only one line. And then another artist, he draw one line like this, stretched it and draw like that. Mahatma Gandhi aa gaya. It is so easy to pull out a form out of the formless, and then put a name to the nameless. That is what it is doing. So the power, initially it is represented as formless, mere power, but now tat abhun nari, tat tejaha, that effulgence, that is neuter, nari abhut, became a woman. And now woman means, now let us describe a woman. Cannot be an old woman. How an old woman can go and kill Mahisha? She must be in her prime youth. And so the woman, she must be having a beautiful face, obviously. So that face of the woman is the same as the power of Shiva. This is Shakti, you know. Shiva's power has become her face. Yadabhut chambhavam tejaha tena ajayata tanmukham. Shiva's face became her face. Shiva's power became her face. And then Yama's power. Yama, our Yamadharmaraja is also there. He gave his power. Now Yama is black. Yama is black, all of you know. So that Yama power has become her bride. Her braid. Beautiful braid it became, Yama's power. She is not a blonde. She is a brunette, okay? So, Bahavo Vishnu Tejasa. Her strength of the hands now is the power of Vishnu. Then her bosom is the power of the moon. And her waist is the power of Indra. Madhyancha Indrena cha bhavat. And then her calves and her thighs, they are the power of Varuna. And then of the Prithvi Devata. And Brahmadeva is there, Chaturmukha Brahmadeva. And his power became her feet. Brahmanas Tejasa Padav. Look at the glory of the mother. Tadangulyorka Tejasa. The sun devata is there. His power became the toes, Angulyaha. Toes, maybe hand angulis also. No, toes only. And then Agni Vasudeva, Ashtavasavaha, Agni one of them. That power became the fingers, Karangulyaha. Then nose. She has a long pointed nose, beautiful nose. And that nose has come from the power of Kubera. Kauberenacha, Nasika. Then she has 3 eyes, not 2, 3. And all the 3 eyes have born out of the power of Agni. And the power of wind has become her ears. And the power of twilight, morning twilight and evening twilight, that light, that power of time, it is time power. It has become her eyebrows. Bro. Bhruvau, Sanskrit and English. Bhru become bro. So, like this, all this Devata's power has come there. And now the lady's form has appeared. Now she wants weapons to defeat the Tamoguna. Like we students of Vedanta, we employ weapons. What are our weapons? Amanitvam adambhitvam, ahimsa kshantirajyavam. So these are our weapons to defeat the Tamoguna. These are our weapons. Similarly here, you come out, you have to have weapons. Now she has the weapon called Shula, trident. It came from Shiva. Shiva gave the trident to her. And if I tell the weapon, you can tell who gave it. She has the discus. Who must have given it? Vishnu must have given it. Yeah, that is true. He doesn't say Vishnu. He says Krishna. You look at that. Suddenly, Vishnu became Krishna. Purana chalta rahta hai. So, I hoped Vishnu will be there. But suddenly Krishna aa gaya. That means there is no difference between Vishnu and Krishna. If you go to Orissa, the Dashavatara is not of Vishnu. The Dashavatara of Krishna. Jayadeva's Dashavatara are of Krishna, not Vishnu. Then Varuna, the god of oceans, gave a weapon called Shankha. Shankha is the weapon. Varuna gave Kanch. And then Agni Deva, the fire god, gave one fire, a weapon that throws fire at the enemy, called Shakti. And Indra gave the thunderbolt, Vajram Indraha. Then similarly, so many, Yamadharmaraja gave the pasha. The pasha means the rope of killing. You see, when they hang a guy, they use a rope. And therefore, what is the weapon of Yamadharmaraja now? You know. That is the weapon. Highly symbolic. So Yamadharmaraja comes with a rope, like the hangman prepares a rope, and he throws the rope and turns it around the neck and pulls, and the guy is gone. So that rope he gave. Then Brahmadeva also gave. Brahmadeva, what can he give? He gave Kamandalu. What will she do with the Kamandalu? Anyway, he gave Kamandalu. Probably she will put some water in that Kamandalu and take the water and throw into the eyes of the Rakshasa or some such thing. And then Brahmadeva, he gave Akshamala also. Mala also he gave. Some japam karne ke liye mala he gave. What will she do? What japa she will do? It's okay, let it be there. If a mala is there, probably the devotees will be inspired by the mala. Like that, sun has put the power of his rays into her entire body, and then so many other alankaras, etc., are given to her. So much description. And Himavan, she now has the vehicle. She needs a vehicle. And now, among the Pauranikas, the vehicle, is it a tiger or is it a lion? This controversy is there. Who can solve that controversy? Nobody can solve. Here it is a lion. And who must have given the lion to her? Himavan, the Himalayan range, is a Devata. And that Devata gave a lion. And this is how she was provided with all the weapons. And so now she is the power. Then she got all the limbs first, and then all the weapons are provided. Now she has to kill Mahisha. But then Mahisha will come later. First, Mahisha's primary warrior will come. Mahisha will send his deputy. He won't come first. He is too big a guy. So Tamoguna will send anger first. Anger is the deputy of the Tamoguna. And so, now I am saying the symbolism. Everywhere I am putting symbol. Without symbolism, the story sounds like Amara Chitra Katha, children's story book. So, therefore I am giving a symbolic meaning to it. Therefore, this Mahishasura will come later. First his deputy came. And his name is Chikshuraha. Something to do with some cheating or deception. Tamoguna has all these qualities. Deception, cheating, anger, and cruelty, himsa, everything. So this deputy came. Now obviously she has slain the deputy without much difficulty, and all that battlefield descriptions will be given. And then finally, how long Mahisha can hide, he has to show himself. But then he comes with a lot of army, this and that. So many weapons he carries, and his horns themselves act as powerful weapons. And now he comes and attacks the Shakti, the mother. It is something like you are practicing some karma yoga and you are trying to do some bhakti or jnanam, and then all the worldliness will come and attack you. You cannot function properly, the body doesn't cooperate, the mind is becoming very restless, and the worldly attractions are pulling away. The smartphone is Karna Pishachi, that is another Rakshasa you can add. Karna Pishachi, the evil spirit sitting attached to the ears, that comes. And so you have to overcome that. After that, overcoming all these Rakshasas, you have to do with about this Karna Pishachi. And therefore, all these powers you have to overcome with amanitvam adambhitvam. Those qualities you have to overcome. And then Daivi Sampata, Abhayam, Sattva samshuddhi, jnana yoga vyavasthiti, tejaha, kshama, dhriti shaucham, satyam indriya nigraha. These are Gita gives a list of, that is the army, that is your army. You have to use that army and defeat the Rakshasa called Mahisha. So you start observing, inquiring, and put sharpness to the thinking, question, investigate, explore, understand, and then grow out of this laziness, this stupor, this intellectual torpor, if I may say so, and grow out of all of that and become the intellect, you acquire the clear understanding, very clarity of understanding, like daylight, and see the truth as truth. But before that, slay the falsehood. How to slay the falsehood? By seeing the false as false. The falsehood is slain. And that is the victory of the prajna, the power of knowledge. That is the victory which it is described. And so the mother slays the Mahishasura, and there is the victory for jnana. And then out of that jnanam comes a prayer. Rishi Ruvacha. Rishi is the one who sees the truth. Therefore now jnanam has come into the scene already. The battles are all over. The tamoguna was vanquished and the Rishi came. Jnanam, Rishi Ruvacha. Devya yaya tatamidam jagadatma shaktya. So Atma, the power of Atma. Atma is Brahman. The power of Atma alone is represented as the Devi, universal mother. And where is this power? It is all pervasive. The power of the Atma is the intelligence of this universe. It is the energy of this universe. And it is the matter of this universe. And Nishesha Devagana Shakti Samuha Murtya. Look at yourself or look at the universe. The wind god has the power from that universal power. The sun, the moon, so the planets, the stars, the galaxies, these are all deriving their power from that universal mother. And then look at within all these devatas, eyes, ears, mind, intellect, all of them, the speech, they derive their power from that Atma which is shining there brilliantly. She is the mother. She is presented as universal mother. So, looking at God as Father, that is the foundation of bhakti. God the Father. And then when you bring in the feminine aspect, then God becomes goddess, Father becomes the mother. Goddess the mother. Tamam bikam akhila deva maharshi pujyam. Now she is being worshipped by all devatas and all rishis. So bhaktya anatasma vidadhatu shubhani sanaha. We are prostrating to that mother with love, with devotion. And may she confer all good upon us. The prayer. You may say, Devya yaya tatamidam jagadatma shaktya nishesha devagana. Very simple words. That's why I'm asking you to say. Shakti samoha murtya tamam vikam akhila deva maharshi pujyam. Even as you say, the meaning becomes very clear. Bhaktya natasma vidadhatu shubha nisanaha. So that mother is worshipped all over the world today. She is worshipped as Ambal in Tamil Nadu, as Durga in Andhra Pradesh, as Bhavani elsewhere, as Vindhyachalavasini in Madhya Pradesh, and as Vishalakshi in Varanasi, as Meenakshi in Kanchi, etc. And then Bhagavati in Kerala, and in Himachala Pradesh she is worshipped as Vaishnavi and as Narayani, and in Bengal of course she is worshipped as Kali with multiple names. The same power of the Brahman is worshipped as the Devata. She is called Durga because she helps us overcome all the obstacles that come in the way of our sadhana. So as the last verse says, last sentence says, Sa Naha Shubhani Vidadhatu. That universal mother, worshipped all over even in Christianity, she is worshipped as Mother Mary. Within Christian denominations, there is one particular denomination in which Mary is given the primary position of worship. And it originated in Poland in the Middle Ages or sometime. And then great saints and sages, they worshipped God in the form of Mother Mary. So, therefore, this worship is everywhere, universal in its nature, and but particularly characteristic of Hindu Dharma, where the feminine aspect is worshipped as well as the masculine aspect. And therefore, that universal mother, who is everywhere, all around it is the mother, power of God. And within and without, it is so obvious you cannot even miss it. Even if you want to miss it, you cannot miss it. That is the glory of that power, manifesting in multiple forms, but in its source it is one. That power, visualized as the universal mother, may confer all good upon us. Therefore, I pray to Ishvara to make life easy for all of us, and to make our path take us to the goal of self-realization. So with those good wishes and prayers, I conclude this speech. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purname